Hello, this is Mr. Stansbury. I'm going to take you through some of the problems on the 12A Part 2 assignment. First one we're going to take a look at here is 1A. Find dt over dr if t equals r squared minus 100 over r. So, first thing I'm going to do before I take my derivative is I'm going to move this r back up to the top. So this is really r squared minus 100 r to the negative first. Now I want to do my derivative. So 2 times 1r is going to equal 2r. Subtract 1 from that. That's just 2r to the first. And then negative 1 times negative 100 is positive 100. Subtract 1 from that, and we get r to the negative second, right? And this is dt over dr. Now, the best way to write this would actually be to move this r to the negative second back to the bottom, to the denominator, which would then give us 2r plus 100 over r squared. Okay? Okay. Let's take a look at number 3. Cost function for producing X items a day is this. Find C of 0 and explain what it represents. So C of 0 is we're going to put 0 in for all the X's, right? So that means that this goes away, that turns to 0, that turns to 0. So we're left with just $14,230. Explain what that represents. That's just like the startup cost for every day. So that's how much money you're going to have to put in really before you even produce any items at all. Okay, so startup cost. Part B says find C prime of X and explain what it represents. So let's do that. We're going to go 3 times a negative 0.000072. So let's do this on the calculator to make sure that we're getting this right. So C prime of X is going to equal, and we got negative 0.1234572 times 3, right? So we get negative 2.16 e to the negative fifth. So that means this decimal's got to move 5 spots back to the left. Moving it 1 of the 5 takes it right there, and so to move it 4 more, that means there's going to be 4 zeros after the decimal place. So it's going to be negative 0.0000, and then what was our number? 216. Okay, and that's going to be x to the, subtract 1 from that, that's x squared. 2 times plus 2 times 0.0061. 2 times 0.0061 gives us 0.0122. X to the, subtract 1 from that, that's just x to the first, so we can just leave it like that. That's x to the first. 1 times 18 is plus 18. Subtract 1 from that, and the x's are gone, and the constant is gone as well. So that is C prime. Explain what it represents. This here is the instantaneous rate of change. So basically what this is describing is this is going to be the cost to make the next item. So like let's say we figured out how much it cost to make 30 items. This here, we could plug in 30 and that would tell us the estimate as how much it's going to cost to make the 31st item, how much extra money. Okay? Okay, part C, find C prime of 300. So C prime of 300 is going to equal negative 0.0000216 times 300 squared plus 0.0122 times 300 plus 18. So we're just going to plug that into our calculator. Negative 0.1234216 times 300 squared, right, plus 0.0122 times 300 plus 18, and that gives us 19.716, so we'll call that 19.72. So equals 19.72. Explain what that estimates. That means it's going to cost about $19.72 to make the 301st item. Okay? Part D says find the actual cost of producing the 301st item. So in order to do that, we have to take the cost of the cost of making 301 items and subtract the cost of making 300 items. Okay? So, just an idea here. Instead of going through and entering that all in twice, what we could do is we could actually go into the y equals, clear out anything else we have in here. I'm just going to put our equation in here, and then once we do that, we can actually figure out what each one of those costs just by hitting a couple of buttons instead of retyping that whole thing in. Okay? So, negative 0.1234216 x squared. Oh, wait. Sorry, we got to put the original in, don't we? So, that is negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros, 72 x cubed. I'm just going to pause this because you don't need to listen to me go through and type this all in, and then we'll start it back up once I get it all in there. Okay, here it all is entered into the calculator. We could put it on the graph, but that's not really going to help us too much. What we want is we want to actually go into the table. So we're going to do, let's just do this for starters. We'll do second graph, which puts us into the table, and it's usually going to look like this. Now, we want to know the 301st and the 300th. It's going to take us a while to scroll through, so what you can do, instead of scrolling all the way down to 300 and 301, you can do second and then do window, because up above that says table set. Okay, so now table start. Let's start this thing at 300, and this little triangle thing, triangle table equals 1. That's delta. That means what do you want the table to change by each time? We're going to go up by 1 each time. Okay, so then when we go through, get that all done, and we do, now if we do second and then table, it should start right at 300 for us. Okay, so the cost of 300 is going to be $19,985, but that's to make 300 total items, right? And then the cost of making 301 items is $20,004. So 20,004 minus 19,985. So 20,004 minus 19,985 is going to be what, 19 bucks? Okay, so the actual cost is 19 bucks. Our estimate was $19.72. We were off by 72 cents. I'm good with that. That's pretty close. Okay. Okay, so something interesting to note that I actually went through and I checked our answer in the back of the book. It's supposed to be actually really close to 19.72. So I went through and I re-entered it into the calculator. The one issue with doing it in our table is it rounded it off to the nearest whole number. But you can tell right here, if we do 301 minus 300, the 301, put all the 301s in here in the equation, that ended up with $20,004.32. So this is really, I'll write it over here, $20,004.32. And then I just entered this other one in. I haven't pushed enter yet because I didn't want to lose some of our data up there. And I do that, and I get 19,984.60 minus 19,984.60. So you can see that it's rounded to the correct spot. But then now if we actually, if we actually take that number, these numbers here, and subtract them from each other, so we got, let's do 20,004, 0.32, don't forget the 32 cents, minus 19,984.6. Then we actually get the $19.72 that it is supposed to be. So, again, usually this table thing will work, and it did actually work. The problem is it's just rounded off, and we wanted to go all the way out to the nearest cent. So there's some other things that we could do to fix that, but now let's call that good. Okay. All right. Number 6, alongside is a land and sea profile where the x-axis is the sea level. So here's sea level. The function y equals 1 over 10 of x times x minus 2 times x minus 3 gives the height of the land above land or seabed relative to sea level at the distance x kilometers from the shoreline. A lot of mumbo jumbo there, but we'll make it make sense here in a second. Find where the lake is located relative to the shore of the sea. So here, actually, this thing here can help us out a lot, because here's our slope, but we know we have x-intercepts at 0, positive 2, and positive 3, right? So we know here's an x-intercept at 0, here's one at 2, here's the other one at 3. Those are all of our 3 x-intercepts, okay? And it's saying find where the lake is located relative to the shoreline of the sea. It is 2, what is it, kilometers? So it's 2 kilometers from the seashore, right? Okay. And then part B says find dy over dx and interpret its value when x equals 1/2 kilometer and x equals 1.5 kilometers. Okay, so if we want to find dy over dx, pretty sure we're going to have to actually FOIL this thing out. We're going to have to multiply this all out and then do our derivative. Okay, so let's do that. So B, we've got y equals 1/10 x minus 2, x minus 3. So I'm going to ignore the 1/10 for now. Just going to come along for the ride, and I'm going to FOIL this out. So that's going to be x times x is x squared. Outside, it's going to be x times negative 3 is negative 3x. I for inside, negative 2 times x is negative 2x. And then L for last, negative 2 times negative 3 is plus 6. Right? So now we're going to distribute our 1/10 and our x to both of those. So that's going to be, I'm going to turn this into a decimal, 0.1. 1/10 is 0.1. So 0.1 x times x squared is 0.1 x cubed, right? Because we're multiplying by an x as well. 0.1 times negative 3 is negative 0.3. X times x is x squared. And then 0.1 times negative 2. Oh, sorry, we should have got to back way up here. We should have simplified here first, shouldn't we? So let's do this. We got to add these two together to make our life easier. So let's call that 0.1x, x squared. Negative 3x and negative 2x is negative 5x plus 6. Now we can distribute through, right? So that is 0.1x cubed. And then 0.1 times negative 5 is negative 0.5 x times x is x squared. And then plus 0.6 times x. Okay? So there's our equation all multiplied out. So then now we should be able to, should be easier now for us to do the derivative. So we'll do dy over dx. 3 times 0.1 is 0.3. Subtract 1, and that's x to the second, right? 2 times negative 0.5 is half of 2 is 1. And then we still have x to the first, right? And then that's x to the first. 1 times 0.6 is plus 0.6. Subtract 1 from that, and the x's are gone. So there's our derivative, okay? And now interpret its value when x equals 1/2 and x equals 1.5. So when they're saying interpret its value, we have to assume that they mean the value of dy over dx. So basically we're going to plug the 1/2 into this right here and see what we get. Okay, so this would be a good opportunity here on our graphing calculator if we can put this equation in, and then we can actually come up with both of these. We can come up with both these calculations instead of having to re-enter it in twice. So let's try this. It's positive, right? So 0.3x squared minus 1x, or just minus x, plus 0.6. And again, I don't care what the graph really looks like too much. What I want to do is I want to figure out the values at 1.5 and 1/2. So we'll do this. We're going to do second table set. We want the table to start at 0.5, and then we want it to go up by, we really want it actually for it to go up by 1, so we can do that. You can change this to another 0.5 if you want to see every half, but for what we need, we just need 1/2 and 1.5, so this should work. So then we do second graph, which gives us our table, and it tells us at 0.5 we're at 0.175. So x equals 1/2. The derivative value there is at, so let's do this. X equals 1/2 dy over dx equals 0.175, right? And then at 1.5, it's negative 0.225. So x equals 1.5 dy over dx equals negative 0.225. 0.225. Okay? And so it says that, and interpret its value. So that means that again, the derivative is telling us what's happening with the change. It's basically like the tangent of the line. So since it's positive, that means at 1/2, so it looks like that's roughly about 1 there. So at 1/2, the slope is going up. It's positive. Since this is a positive number, that means the slope is going up. Okay, at that point, at 1/2. At 1.5, it's roughly right there. That means now the slope is since it's negative, that the slope is actually going down. So now it's changing to go down. Okay? Okay. Let's look at one more, number 7. If a company produces X items a year, its profit is this here. Graph P of X using technology. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, I mean, you don't have to do this, but I don't know. I don't like that the X squared is over here and the X and then the 2000. I'd rather just rewrite this with that X squared over here in the front. So P of X equals negative X squared over 10,000 plus 5X minus 2,000. It's not going to change. If you go through and you graph it, it's not going to change what happens, how we graph it. But this now, I at least know that I've got a negative X squared, and so it's X squared, so it's a parabola, and since it's negative, I know our graph's going to look something kind of like this. Okay, so let's put that thing in here and see what we get. So we're going to do y equals clear. So I'm going to do, let's do this. I'm going to put in a fraction here. Oh, can I not do it with this one? I can't. That's fine. Negative, let's see, I'm going to do parentheses, X squared divided by 10,000, right? Plus 5X minus 2,000, okay? So, especially with these big numbers divided by 10,000, negative 2,000, if I put, zoom standard or whatever, I am feeling pretty confident that I'm not going to get anything to show up on this graph, right? So, first things first, we know that this is a company producing items. So one, we know we're not going to have negative items, so this over here isn't going to make any sense. And this down here is going to be, it says determine the production levels which create a profit. So we want to figure out what's going on up here. So we want to see a little bit on the negative, but we don't need to see too much. So what we're going to want to do is change our window. Our X minimum, let's, just so we can see the graph a little bit better, I'm just going to put it to -1. You could put it to 0. Doesn't really matter. X max, let's see, we're going to produce some items. So I'm going to start big, and then I'm going to zoom back in as I need. So I'm going to maybe go, I don't know, 1,000. I really don't know, I haven't seen this one before, so I'm not sure how that's going to work. But Y minimum, -10, that -$10, that's fine. And then the max, that's going to be how much profit we're going to make. So if we're going to make 1,000 items, I bet you we're going to, hopefully make a lot of profit. So I'm going to do 10,000 and just see what happens. Hopefully I'll see something. Oh, good, look. We see something going on here. Okay, so we get this graph here. All right. Now it appears it's obviously it's going up here, but who knows how far up it's going to go. So I need to get my X maximum. I need to make that bigger. So who knows how much bigger. So I'm just going to go to 10,000 and then hit graph again, and hopefully it's going to show us some more. Oh, now I need to go higher on my X. Let's see if this comes back down. Nope. So I'm really going to have to make my window a lot bigger. I'm going to 100,000. And then let's maybe make this 50,000. Again, as you can tell, I'm just kind of guessing to see if we can get anything to work out. Ooh, that's a lot. Oh, we're almost there with the Y. The X is pretty decent, so that's good. So let's do window. We just need that max to go up higher. Let's change that to 100,000 also. Let me hit graph, and there we go. So it's really asking us determine the production levels at which create a profit. So that's basically when it's going to be positive, right? So really what we need to do is we need to find the x-intercepts. So we'll do second trace, and we want to find the x-intercepts, which is the zeros. Right? And now it says left bound, right bound. There's a zero over here somewhere, so I want to find that one. We could find the one on the right over there first, but I always like to find the left one first. I always like to work left to right. Don't have to, but just a way to keep organized for me anyway. So here's what I want. Left bound. I want this the x value I'm not too worried about. I want to know when that y value is negative. That's got to be negative before it can turn back to positive. So I'm just keeping my eye on this number here, waiting for it to turn negative. And there it is. It's negative. So I'll push. Oops. What happened? I messed it up, so I have to go back. Second trace, 2 for 0. Thankfully, it went back to where I was. Left bound, yep, that's good. And now I just need to move over until I know it's positive, which it's now positive. Push enter, and it says guess. Yeah, sure, give it a guess. 403. So for B, it's going to be from 403 items per year to, and then we get back into our graphing calculator. Now we want to find out when it turns from positive back to negative. So second trace, 2 is our 0. And now we scroll over, and it says left bound. Really, at any point in here, we could push enter. I usually like to get it over closer because I have to get over past it anyway. So that's good enough, I suppose. Enter. And then now I'm going to, again, watch my y value. I got to make sure that it gets to negative. Okay, it's gotten to negative, so I'm going to push enter. Guess. Yep, enter one more time. And that is 49,597, we'll call it. So 403 items to 49,597 items is what's going to produce a profit. Okay. Now this is sufficient because you've got the right idea here. But really, if you think about it, like our last number, 49,597, it was 596 point something or other. So really, if we go all the way to 7, we've now gone into the negative. So we'd probably want to do 49,596. And then I'm trying to remember on this was like 403 point something, right? So if we went to all the way to 403, that's actually going to be negative as well. So let's do 404 to 49,596 because you're not going to make any kind of decimal numbers of items. That doesn't make any sense. So really, this is our better answer on that. Okay. All right. That's all we have for 12A Part 2. If you have any further questions, please feel free to ask. Thanks.